Hey everybody, in this episode we're going to talk about the benefits of red and near infrared light. We'll talk about how these wavelengths provide more energy to your body, as well as how red light can improve fertility in both sexes, and how and when to use the red light therapy. Hey Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey, Faraz, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So, I want to explore your background first, and will you tell us how you got into red light therapy as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's been kind of a winding road. So my basically my stepmom had nerve pain in her feet, had neuropathy in her feet, and she tried everything she could to try to solve that problem. And then she ended up with these custom boots that had red LED lights in them. This was like in the 1990s, so this is way before it was, a popular thing to do. And then I actually didn't think it worked. She claimed that it worked, but I didn't have the heart to tell her it was just a placebo effect. But it turns out she was actually right and I was wrong. So I had like the seed planted of like light having these kind of healing powers, maybe, right? Like, and then periodically, if I had certain health challenges or other people in my family had certain health challenges, red and near infrared light therapy kept coming up. And as I'm getting more into biohacking and health, because I had some challenges just being in front of the computer so much. I was a AI machine learning programmer. Also did video editing. I went to film school. So everything in my background, I was in front of the computer, which of course you can end up with certain kind of health challenges. And I would throw out my back a lot. I had problems with hemorrhoids, all this kind of stuff. So I started getting into biohacking and health and just really trying to become more healthy. And I kept hearing about like lasers and all these different components. And my sister and her son have a condition where they don't have enough collagen production. And for all these things, for hemorrhoids and for collagen production and for just all kinds of stuff, everything I looked at, red and infrared light therapy kept coming up, or at least lasers or something. And my dad had a low blood platelet count after like a heart surgery, which was really concerning. And then I find a Harvard study on low blood platelet count, like being fixed by red light shining on the bones. And so there's all these kind of ways, and I was like, what is this? There's no way that something has this many applications that are this varied. And so I just got obsessed, and I tend to get obsessed with things, and and I definitely just like took a deep dive, and then definitely saw the writing was on the wall that, hey, this is just this really is real. There's over 4,000 studies on this. There's Harvard Medical School is doing a ton of work on it. NASA is doing a ton of work on it. So it's not some fringe thing anymore, but it's not a mainstream product really yet. There's a few companies just starting out, and they were super expensive. So I bought those products, and it hurt my wallet enough. I thought there's probably other people out there that want something a lot cheaper. So my goal was to produce a device that was at least half the cost and twice the power. And so that's exactly what I did, and that was 2 years ago. And so we've done pretty well. We're growing, and we're releasing new products all the time. So we just released our really tall, like full body. It's like the most intense red light on the marketplace. It's called the RedRush 720, and it's kind of like, if you were as insane about this as me, this is kind of the one to get. So
Awesome. Well, it's almost as if the universe was telling you to get into this background, or sorry, your background's so interesting and different, but as the universe was telling you to get into this field because of a lot of things happening to people very close to you. So very interesting. Now let's dive in, Eric. There's a lot of words being thrown around when it comes to low-level laser therapy or red light therapy or photobiomodulation. Are these all the same, and what do they mean?
yeah, so they're pretty much all the same. A lot of the confusion comes from when this technology, if you will, or the effects of red light on cells, on like animals and human cells. It was discovered in the 1960s, and it was basically using lasers. So it was around the discovery of lasers. They started trying to apply lasers to all kinds of things because it was this new technology. And so they tried to see if lasers had an effect on cancer tumors in mice or in gerbils or something like that. And they shaved them down and then shined the lasers to try to go into where the tumor was. And then what they found was it didn't have a positive or negative effect on the tumor, but what happened was the ones that got the laser treatment grew their hair back really quickly.
Wow.
And so it's kind of an accidental discovery. And they thought it was something about lasers because we had never noticed that before. But what was really going on is a laser is focused light, but it's also in one particular wavelength. So a red laser is right at 660 nanometers, and that happens to be just the perfect wavelength. So low-level laser therapy was the original term, and then it kind of got turned into low-level light therapy once people realized it was just the wavelength of light. And then it doesn't have to be low-level. It could be high-level, and it could be all different kinds of wavelengths of light that have a bio effect, effect on your biology, basically. And so they've changed the name recently to photobiomodulation.
Okay. The other two weren't complicated enough, so we've added the third one. But it's really...
And then red and near-infrared light therapy or red light therapy, they're all talking about the same thing.
Same thing. Okay, and we'll get into that in just a second.
And cold laser, same thing too.
That's a different word as well?
Yeah, cold laser is like a marketing term that people use, but yeah, it just means it doesn't get hot because it's not that powerful. So it's the exact same thing.
Okay, awesome. So you threw out 660 nanometers, so I want to dig into that next. There's a huge spectrum of electromagnetic frequencies that are out there, only some of which we can see. So, Eric, for our listeners, what does that spectrum look like, and what's the relevant portions of that spectrum for this conversation?
Yeah, so the relevant spectrum is basically the visible spectrum and then just outside of the visible spectrum. And so basically the near infrared that you hear about are far infrared. Those we just barely can't see. So they're just barely out of the visual spectrum. Red is actually right on the edge of the visual spectrum. Then if you move up the chain the other way, you have UV, which we also can't see. It's the most high energy light and the one that has been known to be damaging as far as like if you get sunburned, the thing that's burning you is UV light. But yeah, as you go down the wavelength, the energy goes down, and so the safety goes up. So that's something that's important. And then if you go up, I believe even higher than UV, then you have X-ray. And we all know like you're not supposed to get that many X-rays. It can cause other problems, but obviously it has the benefit of you can see deep into the body as well for imaging. So
interesting. So thank you for clarifying that. So the interesting, I guess the wavelengths are mostly in the visible spectrum, and between, let's say, 600 to 1,000 there's so many studies in this narrow band of wavelength. There's just so many therapeutic or beneficial effects of these. So we're going to dig into these next. As you mentioned, sunlight is around, per my research, 400 to 700. Below that, we've got the UV, which is very damaging to the skin, that sunlight also has. And then 700 to about 1,000 is the near and the far infrared, correct?
Yep, that's right. And so I was going to say something important to note is that one of the reasons why red and near infrared have any effect at all is because they happen to be able to penetrate through tissue. So if you do this at home, if you're watching the video or just if you're listening too, if you turn on the flashlight on your phone, you can see it's white basically, but if you shine it through your finger, it's actually orange or red. And the reason it's red is because the red, it's not turning red from your blood or anything like that. It's actually only the red wavelengths are making it through all the way. The rest of the wavelengths get stopped right at the surface of the skin. So UV light doesn't make it very deep at all. And then blue and green make it a little bit into your skin, but only red and near infrared and far infrared, which is basically heat, actually can penetrate deep into tissue. So it's not that the other wavelengths wouldn't do something if they could reach the cells. It's a part of the effect is that that wavelength happens to penetrate through tissue.
It's a very pertinent example you gave us. I've never looked at my cell phone and tried to see which frequency or which light goes through. How deep does red or near infrared light go into the skin?
I mean, it's a great question, and it really depends on how bright of a light you're shining. So it has to do with, basically if you have a bright enough light, it could go through your entire body. Some of it would make it through. So as you can see, just with your phone, it can make it through your fingertip. The lights that we sell are significantly brighter than, an iPhone light. Mm-hmm. And so that is something that can reach like 6 inches deep into like, organ tissue or like big muscles like your quads and things like that if you place it very close. And then one of the ways that, we have an app and like a guide that you get, and it has different distances away. One of the reasons for that is because you may need to get deep into for me, it's like if I throw out my back, getting deep into my back muscles, I'll set it just 6 inches away, really close. But if you're just trying to treat your skin, that's way too much power to be ideal for your skin. Mm-hmm. So you stand 3 feet back and then just kind of let it cover your whole body.
I see. So this is very interesting. Let's dig deeper into this a little bit. So you have both frequencies, I guess, with your light. You've got the red light and you've got the near infrared light, and they're a little bit different on the frequency, right? Is it that one or the other goes deeper, or do you use them in combination for the best effect?
Use them in combination, and there are studies and there's theories around near infrared going deeper. Mm-hmm. But the reason you use both is because we're still figuring out exactly why the effects are what they are. So there's been 4,000 studies. We know what the positive effects are, but the reason why those effects happen, like what the cellular mechanism is, we have a few nailed down, but there seems to be an advantage to mixing at least these two wavelengths in the far infrared and the red. Maybe certain cells are blocked from one by some other tissue that's absorbing that wavelength at a higher rate. So by using both, you're getting the maximum probability of the positive effects for all the different cells. And there may be some effects that are slightly different near infrared versus just red.
Okay, great. So I want to get into how far distances, where you stand, how long you do it a little bit later. For now, let's ask this question. As you said, there's so many studies on it, and I did my research as part of this. And what I did find is when you stand far enough and you use the wavelength that doesn't penetrate too deeply, so it impacts your skin, there's a ton of benefits to skin itself, and they relate a lot to improving how your mitochondria create the energy. Can you talk about that specific aspect of it?
Absolutely, yeah. So our company is actually not, I know I talked about medical challenges because that's just how I found out about the technology. But actually our company is focused on the skin, the positive benefits, beauty, wellness, things like that. We're actually, we don't sell anything specifically for a medical condition. So definitely familiar. Most of our customers are athletes, people looking to have more energy, and then people looking to have better skin. Those are like kind of the main categories. And so, the skin effects are pretty profound. I guess, you asked about a couple different things. So I'll start with the ATP production and kind of go up the chain because that's how it works, really. It's like you are made up of trillions of cells. So the healthier the cells are in your body, the healthier you are because you are made up of those cells. So every cell has its job to do. When you're impacted by sunlight or any kind of stressor, meaning like a physical stressor in the world, your body has to respond to that in some way to process that or push back against it. And so it uses ATP. ATP is the energy source of everything. Everything that you do, every thought that you have, when I'm moving my hands around, that's using up ATP. That is the energy. So inside of our cells, we have little power plants called mitochondria. We have tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands per cell. And these little power plants that take the oxygen and the food and produce ATP. So the reason when you get hungry, it's because your body needs more food to convert to ATP to use as energy. It's the fuel. It's the jet fuel for your body. So what happens basically as you age is that in your mitochondria, they get gummed up with nitric oxide stuck where oxygen is supposed to bind. And the binding site, if you're really into it, is called cytochrome C oxidase. And it's in the electron transport chain. And basically it's a chromophore, meaning it responds to light, which is very convenient. So the red and infrared light come in and it'll knock the nitric oxide out of the binding site where oxygen is supposed to be, put the nitric oxide back out into bloodstream, which it's good in the bloodstream, just not in the mitochondria. And then the mitochondria can get that oxygen and start running again. So I like to think about it like, having an old beat up car that hasn't had the oil changed in 10 years versus like a brand new Ferrari engine. It's like knocking all that crap out of there, cleaning the engine fully, like just totally redoing, changing the oil, getting good fuel in there, and setting it on its way. So that's kind of what I imagine when I'm shining the red light every day. Mm-hmm. Just like, I'm getting charged up, getting all my cells are getting cleaned and like getting ready for the Indy 500.
That's a great analogy, and thank you for explaining. It's so interesting that nitric oxide, which is important for us, just not in the cell. Once it gets into the blood, then it can help dilate some of the blood vessels, which will improve blood pressure and whatnot. But inside the cell, it's actually causing issues with the electron transport chain. And for folks that are interested, I'll include a definition and how it all works in the show notes for this episode. But thank you for the explanation. Now,
yeah, absolutely. There's also, I was going to say for the skin, there's a couple other effects happening. Mm-hmm. One of the most important is that it's called hormesis. So there's a slight challenge to your skin, kind of like when you go to work out and you lift a little more than you could normally easily lift. Mm-hmm. That stimulates your muscles to grow. And so that's why working out works. And so part of the way red and near-infrared light help skin issues, or just in general making your skin look much better and younger, besides having the energy they need from the ATP, is that it's a little workout for all your cells. So they're being challenged by a new kind of stressor, and they respond by producing more collagen and more elastin. And that's kind of what I learned from my sister's challenge. Was, they had the lack of collagen production, and it's like red and near-infrared light. That's one of the main things, is that it produces more collagen by stressing the skin and having that response. So it's pretty cool because it's kind of nudging your body to create those things. And now people are like buying collagen and drinking it and eating collagen bars. And you can make it in your body. You just have to stimulate it. Kind of like vitamin D you can make. You just need to stimulate it with sunlight. So.
Yeah, it's very interesting you talk about hormesis. We're just finding out how powerful it is. It's like anything that can hurt you longer term if you're exposed to it for a long time in short bursts can actually help you. And this goes with, obviously, exposure to this red light. This goes with heat or sauna stress. This goes with cold showers and exercise and just so many things in the environment. So it's really cool to see that. Now, so we go from increasing more energy in the ATP, and that produces more collagen. And because it produces more collagen, then it reduces your fine lines, reduces your wrinkles, it's just better for your skin, the tone gets better. Does it also tighten up the skin?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's there's a couple things going on. So the collagen production is probably more from the hormesis than the ATP. But if you think about, you're adding a stressor, and then you're making sure the cells have plenty of energy to do the job of producing that collagen. Then it's just like when you're younger, the reason your skin looks better is because you have plenty of energy. And so as we age, one of the things that happens is just we don't have the ability to resist the stressors that are coming at us. So we're getting we have a little more stress coming at us each day than we're able to heal from each day. And that's aging. Mm-hmm. So if you think about, if you have more energy in every single cell, you can see how that would you won't get those wrinkles and stuff in the first place, and you can actually help reverse them because your body's already trying to fix that stuff. It's already trying to make sure that you have healthy skin. It's trying to make sure you have energy. It's trying to heal your bones. It's trying to heal all this stuff, and it's trying to resist the stress we put our bodies and our minds under. It's just that we add a little more than the body can recover. So red and near-infrared light therapy can help reverse that process. And also worth mentioning is like, why is this happening? Like, why is this technology big now? And it's because basically light is a nutrient that we don't get enough of these days. Not just red and near-infrared light, but UV light and all the other far infrared and the other areas of the spectrum, because we live inside, basically. I mean, people that are like really outdoorsy maybe get an hour or two a day, which is significantly less than we ever used to get. And people have this idea that we live a lot longer now than we ever did, but that's actually not true. It's just that people would die from diseases very young, but if they didn't, you could absolutely see people live over 100 years ago. So the idea that we're sort of healthier now isn't necessarily true. It's just that we solved a lot of the things that bring the average down. Some of the diseases and stuff, but yeah, light turns out to be a nutrient that we absolutely need. So I think I went off on a tangent. I don't remember the original question.
No worries. So it's really good for the skin is the bottom line.
Yes. Yeah, that was it.
So the follow-on question I have on that one is, okay, got it. It's amazing for the skin. I'm sold. I use it. I have one of your devices, as you know.
Awesome.
And I use it every day. Now, what about, there's also benefits for deeper penetration into your tissues and your muscles. And like you said, you throw out your back. So let's talk about why would we want this light to be penetrating deeper? What are we trying to heal?
Well, it's anything. So if you have a muscle injury or something like that, like if you think about healing, the healing process uses up a lot of energy. Which, if you're sick or you've had a big injury, you're really tired. Like you're supposed to not do that much. The energy that you're talking about is ATP. So the more energy you have in your whole body and in a localized place is going to help all your systems in your body, not just your skin. It's just that's the main thing people notice. Once they've been using it for a month or 6 weeks or something, their skin looks amazing. They might not notice if their spleen is better just because we don't have a way to see that, right? So. But if you happen to have, for me at least, like if I throw out my back as an example, I can feel how it makes it better. Whereas if it's not currently hurting at all and I do the red light, it is actually helping, but I can't necessarily feel it. And so, yeah, and then there's been a lot of studies on athletic performance where if you do a weightlifting routine, you'll actually gain more muscle mass throughout that. They actually cut pieces of the muscle and actually measure it, and it's pretty crazy. But again, you wouldn't be able to feel it. It's just that we know we can trust the science of, this helped. And then one thing we can measure, though, is recovery time. So a lot of athletes will be able to train a lot harder and more frequently and have less recovery time in between because they'll do the red and near-infrared light therapy and actually help them recover faster so that their muscles are ready to go again. So it's pretty amazing. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it's just giving your body what it needs to do, what it was already trying to do, at an accelerated rate. Then it starts to make sense how it can have all these varied effects on all these different kinds of systems in the body. Because when you first hear about it, it's like that seems impossible. Those things are so unrelated. But everything in your body is related to your cells and how much energy they have.
That is fascinating. Thank you for the explanation. When I first heard of red light therapy, I said, oh my goodness, what is this? This is the new bandwagon everybody's going to jump on, and why don't we just go outside and get more sunlight? But then, studying anti-aging in particular, you've got to be a little bit careful with the sun, especially over prolonged exposure, because it does have that UV component, as we talked about, and that does damage. The UVA actually gets in and starts to change your DNA, mutate your DNA, which could lead to cancers and whatnot. So there's a little bit of caution that you have to utilize when you're out in the sun for a long time. But certainly we're not getting enough light. I agree with you. So I guess if red light therapy is all this, everything is good. What's the catch, Eric? There's got to be a catch.
There's not a catch, so to speak. There are a couple caveats, I guess, which is that there are some people like myself actually that are hyper responsive to light in general and including red light. So for me, if I'm out in the sun, I feel it way more than most people. If I go on vacation or whatever, I can't hang out in the sun as much as most people. And then red light as well. I'll do 1/5 of the time that most people would do. And for a while, I didn't understand why that was. But then Michael Hamblin, the doctor from Harvard Medical School, basically they figured out, they did a study that there's a very small percentage of the population that are hypersensitive to it. But what's great about that, and I thought it was a negative at first, it just turns out that you just need less, which is nice, right? So then you only need 2 minutes instead of 5 or 10.
It's perfect, man. How do you find out if you're more sensitive? I guess just going outside, you'll see it.
Yeah. So one thing they found in the study was just that they could ask people certain questions and know beforehand if they were going to respond like that. So if you go outside and you need to put on sunglasses, like if you naturally like, oh, where's my sunglasses? I need to, I'm going to go out in the sun, because like that will give me a headache if I just go out in the sun. You're probably more, whereas some people like literally don't even think about that and just go right out into bright sun, which sounds crazy to me because I'm one of those people that grabs for my sunglasses when I head outside. So there's things like that. And then also if you do it and you end up getting a headache, stuff like that, then you would just know you need to lower the dose. But of course it's just a short-term thing. I've never found anything negative long-term. Short-term is just headache. There's a few things where if you had acne going on, it can help acne, but it makes it worse to begin with because it's adding that stressor. So it's actually stressing out your skin a little more. And so you actually get more acne and then it will go away. And then there's a few things where if you're not properly hydrated, because your whole system is using more energy, you produce more heat, you're using more water, you can end up with you feel like dry lips, or there's some kind of things like that, but those generally are in the first week or two of using it, and then taper off as your body gets used to the new stressor. Kind of like you're extra sore when you first start working out. Not to that extreme, of course. It's not like your skin is sore or something like that. You can barely feel, but we have had definitely a lot of feedback of like, oh, I have chapped lips. Is that normal? And then that seems to be pretty common in like the first week. So there's a few little things. I mean, you are having a biological like effect on your body. So it's definitely worth, noticing those things and asking those questions. And then one caveat too is that there are certain conditions and certain medicines, like Accutane is an anti-acne medicine that I took when I was younger. That's really harsh on your body and dehydrates you like crazy and makes you super sensitive to light. So you definitely want to check if you're on any medications, the light sensitivity. Ask your doctor about that and say, hey, I want to try this red near-infrared light. Is there anything I'm doing that there's a reason I shouldn't do that? And generally, if there's a medication, it should say on the bottle, don't go in the sun. The reason is it's making you more light sensitive. So that's something to be aware of. But assuming you're not on any medications, there's been no negative side effects really found in any of the 4,000 studies. So
no real side effects and nothing long-term either. So really good.
Yeah. So headache is the worst case, and that's of course short-term. And obviously, if it doesn't agree with you, just don't use it. And we have a 60-day trial. So one of the reasons for that is we want to make sure people are seeing the effects and that they are getting the effects that they want. And if they're not, or they don't like it for any other reason, they can send it back. So
for 60 days.
Yep.
Okay, great.
And sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say most studies are 4 to 6 weeks. So that's where that's coming in. Is it like we give you that plus a little buffer? So for example, some of the skin studies that you can, and if you just Google red light therapy and then click on the image tab, it's cool because you can see before and afters. There's a lot of university studies and you can just perceive yourself how much better they look. But they also did a thing where they brought in other people that weren't a part of the study and just measure like beauty level. Blind on, they would just show them one image of that person, and then they showed that the person in other groups of people after the red light therapy measured as more attractive. So that was kind of cool. Just as we've talked about a lot of science, but as far as the aesthetics, it's clear that it makes people look better, which is awesome.
Oh, that's fascinating. So what is your recommendation, Eric, for using the device? Do you use it every day for a few minutes? Is it 5 times a week for 8 weeks? What would you say?
So depending on the use, but in general, for most people, you would want to do the full body. And we do it we suggest with our device with the brightness and the lenses we have. So this doesn't apply to other devices. But for ours, it's 5 minutes per section of your body, basically from 24 inches away. And that's kind of the sweet spot, the Goldilocks zone, where you're getting a good amount still into your deep tissues, but it's not too much for your skin. And then if you had some acute thing going on, you just sprained your ankle or your back went out or something like that, then it would be up close 6 inches away for 10 minutes. And you're getting a lot more light. That's not something you want to do on your whole body. But yeah, so it's just 5 days a week and super simple. If you have the large one, it's just 5 minutes on the front of your body, 5 minutes on the back, Monday through Friday, take the weekend off. And the idea there is just give your body a chance to reset. And then people are always worried about like the time, like people are busy these days. So they're like, how do I have 10 minutes or 20 minutes extra to do this? And what's becoming popular is for people when they first wake up, will turn it on and they have it in their room, and just basically do like naked yoga, naked stretching in front of it. One of the benefits of these kind of devices, you can have it inside, and you can get light to the places, you can't really get sunshine these days without getting in some trouble. So
Right, exactly.
but people do stretching, and then also a lot of people we've heard will put it on their bathroom, on the back of their bathroom door. It comes with a door hanging kit and everything. And then when they get out of the shower, they'll just drip dry. And it's just cool to take 5 minutes for yourself and sort of a meditation, or just taking a pause, which is healthy in and of itself. The light is so bright, you don't really want to be on your phone or anything. So it's kind of natural that it gives you this 5 to 10 minute break. And it's just great to add into your routine, either after you wake up, after a workout, or after the shower, some kind of routine you already have.
Yeah, for sure. I've started doing a standing meditation, which I never did before, but now you just stand in front of the light for 8 to 10 minutes, and it's very calming, and you feel and imagine the benefits coming into your body. So it's a double effect, because not only is the light coming in, but you're also imagining it doing good things. So I'm sure the mind-body connections got your back on that one.
I like to picture when I'm in front of it too, that it feels like a campfire, because it kind of looks like a campfire, and we're all drawn to that. We all want to hang out in front of the campfire.
Yes.
One of the reasons is because it's full of red and near infrared light. So there's these little cues in our system that we should go toward that kind of light. And that's one of them, is campfires for sure.
Okay. You touched on something for a second, Eric, that I want to kind of dive into a little bit. And that is the topic of testosterone improvement using low-level red light therapy. And there are studies going back 80 years where they found that if you just expose your torso to the sun, it boosted your testosterone by, I believe, 120%. But if you actually exposed your gonads directly to the sunlight, then you had a 200% effect, so double. Now, as you said, we can't just be hanging around with, naked outside. We live in societies and cities now. But you could do that with this light therapy. And I know there are some studies on this as well. What have you seen, or what studies can you point us to with regards to testosterone improvement in production and even sperm motility with red light therapy?
Yeah, that's a great topic. So I'm going to say something a little different maybe than the rest of the industry is saying. And that's it's still not clear that the testosterone boosting is as profound and as high from just red light therapy. So you talk about the sunlight ones, and vitamin D helps the testosterone. They're linked together. So getting vitamin D from the UV in the sunlight is super crucial. And so that's probably where a lot of that effect is coming from. The red and near infrared light will definitely help those cells in your glands produce whatever it is they need to produce. So if you had a low level, it might bring it back to normal. But if you have a normal level, it's probably not going to shoot it up. A lot of the studies that have been done that did show what you're talking about were on rodent models. So it hasn't been done in humans yet. But they have done studies on the sperm motility and fertility whole process, so for men and women. And it helps tremendously. That is somewhere I can definitely confirm. If you are trying to, conceive, that is it's extremely useful for that. But it's such a sensitive area for men that a lot of guys will shine from 6 inches away, let's say, and they want to get as much light as they can because it's I want testosterone, and it's probably overdoing it, and you basically kill all the sperm if you do that. So you want to do it from far away, right? For 24 inches or even 36 inches away, if you were going to do that. It may absolutely have an effect on testosterone. It's just that the jury is out, and as far as I'm concerned, because I'm pretty hard on making sure that anything I say has been proven. But yeah, as far as the function and the sperm motility and the increased fertility, absolutely huge. So, and for people that have that problem, that's a big deal in our society. Of course, on the men and the women's side, that's becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and red light has been proven to help that.
Well, that's another plus.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about circadian biology and what time you recommend, Eric, that people use the red light therapy device. Should they avoid using it late night? Should they use it in the mornings? What's the best time?
So that's one where it starts to get a little personal, where you have to kind of try it out. So one of the things with the circadian rhythm is that you don't want super bright light before bed. And this is a super bright light. As you know, it's like the
Yep.
brightest light you've probably ever seen. It's insane. It turns your whole room just bright red. It goes out the window. It's just very, very bright. So it's not in the blue spectrum. So that's not a problem, which if people don't know, you do want to avoid blue light, because it will trigger your pineal gland and basically signal that the sun is still out when it's not and make it harder to sleep. So the red isn't bad in that sense, but it can be too bright. However, it does help all your glands and everything produce all the different hormones that you need. And so there's, a hormone cocktail is what makes you sleepy. And melatonin production is one of the things that's been studied that improves significantly with red and near-infrared light therapy. So there are studies even going on now about sleep. And so basically, if you have that challenge, then you would want to use it before bed. So 2 hours, though, not right before bed, but like 2 hours before. That way the brightness isn't causing the problem. And then if you don't have that problem, for me, I like to use it first thing in the morning. For me, I'm thinking I'm getting this like boost to my cells. I'm getting this, we didn't talk about the anti-inflammation effects, but basically it's like you're getting this anti-inflammatory energy boost, clearing everything out, and then stretching, of course, is very good in the morning too. It has other positive effects. So combining those two, I feel like I go out into the world like I put on my Superman suit. You know what I mean? Like I did my thing that got me ready for the day, kind of like people would do coffee almost. It's like you get this energy boost. And for me, I've tried it even 2 hours before, and I can't sleep at all 2 hours before bed.
Got it.
And then other people I hear, like literally they'll use it and it will put them to sleep. And so this is one case where it kind of depends what your body needs. If you're really needing sleep, a lot of times it will help you go to sleep. So that is one to try.
Okay, so try it out individually, see how it affects your biology, and then go from there.
Yep. I wish it was easier. Just say, use it at this time for this, but it's one of those things that is personal.
Sure. Now, in talking to or with med spa owners, Eric, what I've found is they're starting to offer red light therapy as a finishing treatment, either after a facial or after a cosmetic procedure. And they say it improves the healing time of the injury, which of course is true, but that's just one dose. And they're charging anywhere from $50 to $100 to do that. Is that really beneficial, or is that just a way of making money?
Both. I think it's a good way to make money, and it definitely has a benefit. One of the really positive effects of red and near-infrared light is that when you combine it with another stressor, it helps you handle it better. So like we were talking about before, like hormesis, there's kind of another example in a different field, which is like if you deprive a patient of oxygen, like you do a low oxygen environment before heart surgery, the heart surgeries go much better, which makes no sense because you'd think, why would you want to stress someone out right before they go into heart surgery? But a little stressor can actually help your body deal with the other stress that it has thrown at it. So, for example, I haven't ever gotten sunburned, and I used to get sunburned easily since I started doing red and near-infrared light. Wow. So there's this element of like it's able to help you kick back and help your body handle the stressors that are coming at you, both before and after. So literally like doing red light before the skin treatment would help you tolerate the skin treatment better. Doing it after would help you heal from the skin treatment. So I think it does have benefit. But a lot of kind of why I started the company and what we're trying to bring is that you can do this every day. And then you're getting that like compounding effect of having, it's kind of like eating healthy every single day would change your freaking life. Like if you eat healthy every day for a year, you will feel a lot different than if you eat healthy once. Like eat healthy once, you will actually feel a little bit better. You're like, wow, that was a good choice. I do feel a little lighter and this is starting to move stuff. But yeah, for a year, it's a big, big deal. And it used to be too expensive. You'd have to go to the doctor's office every single day and use the lasers and all this kind of stuff. And one thing I haven't really mentioned is that basically there was a breakthrough of realizing that you could use the LEDs. And LEDs you can make at a very specific frequency, just like lasers. And so Dr. Michael Hamblin from Harvard Medical School did studies comparing laser-based treatments with LED-based treatments and showed they were exactly the same effect. So that's created this basically economics where you can have one at home and you can use it every day. And a lot of sort of the spas you mentioned and stuff are working in a little bit of an older business model where they'd have to buy something that's very expensive and then make the profit over time to pay it off. And it's not something you would really ever have at home, but that's changing. So
Yeah, definitely some of these laser companies, their lasers are what, 150,000 per laser,
Yeah.
and so those costs need to be passed on to the consumer. And so therefore, when you try to go get an IPL or a thermage or something, they're like in the thousands of dollars, as opposed to this, where you can just buy it and have it and use it every day. So
Yep.
yeah, very, very interesting use case as well. Now, Eric, you've got an app called the RedRush PBM. Tell our listeners about the app.
So the app is just trying to make it simpler. It's kind of like a menu of you select what it is you want to do, whether it's a skin treatment or a full body or like a deep tissue, and then you can choose the menu item basically, and then it will direct you. The kind of levers to pull are how far away you are from the device, which is lowering the power or raising the power, and then how long to do it. So the total time, and then it calculates for those that are really into the biohacking or the dosage, it calculates the joules per centimeter squared, basically the energy that is being delivered to your body and recharging your cells. So you can know like the actual scientific amount.
Yeah, I've definitely been using the app, and shamelessly speaking, I use two specialized modes. One is the supermodel skin.
Nice.
And the other one's the quick energy boost.
Perfect.
And I'm going to do the workout recovery too as well, because I work out pretty hard. But it's very interesting in that when you open it up and you say, okay, I want supermodel skin, you click on it and then it tells you how far away to stand and how long to stand for. And it's telling you there's a running counter of the joules or the energy being transferred to your body. So yeah, it's a really neat trick for people that just want the menu, right? They want to know what to do instead of trying to guess it, or like, am I at 5 minutes or am I at 7? Like, I don't know where I'm at. So yeah,
it starts to get confusing once you try to, you're reading a lot. If you Google a lot of stuff and trying to figure out, well, this study said this and this other study said this. And so we just try to, make it into a few main categories that we think fit most items. We're going to definitely be expanding the app and updating it to include more options as people are asking for that. So.
Okay. Well, I'm also going to share my results with the audience in a little bit, in a couple months. So, folks, please stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
The other question I had for you is, this is an obvious, very potent anti-aging hack, not only at the skin level, but also at the inflammation level, which we know is a huge cause of aging faster, but also healing and recovery in muscle. So, Eric, apart from using this device or red light therapy, what are your other top, maybe a couple of anti-aging tips or hacks for the audience?
Yeah, besides red and infrared light, for me, there's kind of two main ones. I use a lymphosizer, or it's just a little small trampoline. And basically, we have a lymph system in our body that doesn't have a pump. But it's what carries all the crap out of your body. It's very, very important. If that doesn't move, you die, but yet we don't have a pump. There's not like the lungs or the heart for the oxygen in the blood systems, but it's as important of a system. And so just one of those little mini trampolines, basically, if you jump on it, it's like a massage for every single cell. So if there's, red blood cells stuck together, it shakes them apart. If something's trying to leave the cell or enter the cell, it kind of helps that process happen. So just bouncing up and down. It also helps me from working at the computer so much. One of the aging things that happens to me kind of is I end up hunched over and my shoulder's so tight and everything. And so bouncing up and down is like getting all those muscles moving. And for me, it's huge. Like, it's literally probably my favorite object that I own.
Great.
And it was just so much fun too. You smile jumping on it. The other thing is a far infrared sauna. So I think exposure to heat is huge. I think sweating out all those toxins is pretty obvious with the benefit for your skin. I mean, it's been clear to me that when I use the sauna, just like when I use the red light, I notice a difference, first of all, in my skin. Of course, there are definitely studies about tons of other health effects, but anti-aging, I think, sauna has been huge. Rebounder and red and near infrared light has been huge. So.
Well, that's great. I have to admit that I do both of those things. I also have a mini rebounder at home, and that's the first thing I do when I wake up.
Awesome.
So great. I'm glad we share at least both of those other hacks, and now the third one, which is red light therapy. Eric, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for coming on the show. how can our listeners find you online?
You can go to redtherapy.co. Or Google Red Therapy Company, and that's our company. You can check out our products, and feel free to shoot us a question. We do have a cool spreadsheet of all the studies ever done on red and near-infrared light therapy. So if you're thinking, I wonder if it helps this, or how does it affect this, or I want to see these pictures of the skin stuff you're talking about, just send us an email, just team@redtherapy.co, and it's .co, not .com. And then we'll be happy to send you that information, send you the link to that spreadsheet. And then if those that are interested in purchasing one, we do have a coupon code, which is anti-aging hacks, just specifically for listeners of this particular podcast. And that will get you a discount on the units. And ours are actually already the most powerful and most affordable in the whole marketplace. So you're getting a really, really good deal if you take advantage of that.
Well, thank you, Eric. That is very kind of you to offer the listeners a code, and I'll be sure to let them know that. Now, one last question. Could you perhaps send me the link to, or a few of the studies? I want to make sure I want to include these in the show notes. So
Sure.
if people want to read some more, they can go there and take a look. And then obviously I'll include a link to your website as well, so they can go find the red therapy devices there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you very shortly.
Awesome, man. Well, it was good catching up a couple of weeks ago, and good to see you again, and can't wait to work together more in the future.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Eric.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.